guys, welcome back to another edition of Raw Intuition Inside Scoop. Today we have another exciting and special guest and interview for you today. We have Taylor from Pure and Secure, which is the company that I am an affiliate for their water distillers. And these water distillers, I personally believe, are the best on the market, which is why I am an affiliate for them. And I love the integrity of the company and just their mission. And so I thought it would be really helpful to have Taylor come on and just share with us some information about water, distilled water and specifically, and also water distillers and why they might be an option for you if you're looking for, a clean source of water for you and your family. All right. So we're going to get into a lot of the questions that I personally get because, there's a lot of different theories out there about water. And so when I talk about distilled water, I get all these questions. So we're going to run some of these by Taylor and see if she can help us out with answering them so that you guys can be more informed about water and distilled water and how to kind of go about that. So Taylor, thank you so much for joining the channel and sharing this information with us.
Absolutely. Let's get started.
All right, cool. So Pure Water or Pure and Secure it's a family-owned company for over 50 years. Mm-hmm. What was it that, kind of got you interested in distilled water and essentially led you to joining their team?
Sure, of course. So I graduated from the University of Nebraska. My major was nutrition, exercise, and health sciences. So I've always had a passion for more on the exercise level, but of course, nutrition as well. I actually really just wanted to be a personal trainer. But then I came across Pure and Secure, and it was more of a sales job. And I had worked sales jobs in the past. I enjoyed them. And so I came across this job, and it was more of a sales approach as far as education. It wasn't like I was there to try to pitch someone our product or keep calling them, bothering them to buy something. It was more just teaching them about distillation. And of course, with distilled water, talking about nutrition or, along those lines. It sparked my attention. So I've been working here for over 3 years. It's been wonderful. I love talking to people about health and wellness overall. So this is just very exciting. I didn't think I would really like this as much as I did. It sometimes doesn't even feel like a sales job. It seems like I'm just having a conversation with someone about health and trying to educate them on distillation.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. Yeah. And same with me, just sharing this information, it really doesn't feel like work or like a job or anything. It's just, it's just so natural to be able to share truth and health information with people to help them. So
absolutely. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So for, people out there that don't really understand what distilled water is, can you just share, what is distilled water and is it a natural form of water?
Sure. Yes. So distilled water is water that has been purified through the process of heating, evaporation, and condensation. So what it's doing is it actually is mirroring Earth's hydrologic cycle, which is how we get rainwater. So because of this, it is a very natural process. So with that whole process, we can kind of go into it a little bit more, is because you've got your raw water that is going into a stainless steel chamber, which is part of the water distiller itself. So this is where you have the water that is being boiled. And during this boiling process, the water molecule and the contaminant are going to separate from each other. So this is the first part of when you are going to see this phase change, because you've got your water molecule and the contaminant, they're attached to each other. During that boiling process, that water is then going to turn into steam. And so that steam is then going to rise into the boiling chamber, and you're leaving behind the contaminant into that stainless steel chamber. So that steam is then condensed and cooled into a stainless steel coil. So it went from water to steam back into water again, and then it's going to drip into your glass jar or into a stainless steel reservoir tank. So that is the process of the phase change, which is again what we learned in probably most of us learned in elementary school, which was evaporation, condensation, precipitation. So essentially it's just rainwater, and rainwater would be very pure unless we didn't have all of the contamination in our air today.
Yeah, the contamination of the air is a huge problem for a lot of, especially a lot of the more condensed populous areas. So, so how does distilled water then differ from reverse osmosis, which is another popular type of water, or other filter based types, systems?
Sure. Yeah. So this is actually one of the most common questions I get. So when I think about RO water or filtered water, I'm going to categorize them together, because RO water is basically just filtered water. It's actually a series of filters that water is being pushed through. So the purpose of these filters are to hold back the contaminants from getting over into the drinking water side. So it is very important to note that RO systems are very limited in the certain amount of contaminants that they can remove. And because it is a filtration system, they are going to break down over time. So your quality of water declines. One thing I do also like to note as well is that RO systems, these filters, most of them are going to be made with plastic and rubber. So we don't want any of that in our water as well. Whereas if we have a pure water distiller, you're having stainless steel and glass, which is very high quality for your water to be going through. So again, with a filtration system or an RO system, you're not going to get your high purity water like you would with a water distillation machine, because again, as we talked about prior, distillation goes through a phase change, and that process is consistent over time. Whereas again, with an RO system, essentially it's just a series of filters.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So one thing that I did that I'll just mention to people is, the RO system, like you said, those filters, they're going to, accumulate the contaminants over time, right?
Yeah.
And so before I purchased a distiller, I was using reverse osmosis water that I would get, I'd bring my glass jug into a grocery store, fill it up at their dispenser.
Sure.
And I went to a few different stores, and then I used a TDS meter to test them. And some of them were up in the 200s, and some and some were down in like 40. So it really goes to show that you don't really know at what point in that filter's life cycle it's at that you're getting from. And yeah, I've seen studies that biofilm accumulates on those filters within a week, even,
Yes.
Yeah. So
yep, absolutely. You're susceptible to biological contaminants that grow through those filters. And that's actually one of the biggest problems that RO systems face in the water treatment industry, is having that biofilm start to accumulate. And those membranes are so expensive to replace as well. Whereas if you have a pure water distiller, yes, the upfront cost is expensive, but eventually that will pay itself off. And then you have a little activated carbon filter that you're replacing periodically. Those are $25 to $30 each. So significantly less than you would be paying for if you had an RO system.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got my
I see that. That's awesome.
Down.
Looks very clean.
There it is. So I've got my Pure Water Mini Classic CT next to me. And then I also downstairs, I've got the Aquanui 8.5 display.
Okay.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I've had this since 2018. My family has had the same Mini Classic CT since it's been about a decade now. And
oh wow. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so they're loving it, and it's still the same machine. It's been working great for them. So,
good.
Yeah, so it's great stuff. So a lot of people don't even realize that, distilling or even just filtering their water is important, which is kind of crazy to me, that even today people aren't really aware of what's in their water. So can you just share a little bit about, what the problems are with, tap water in general?
Sure, of course. So the first one I always like to address, and I know it can kind of stir the pot a little bit, is minerals. So minerals that are in our water are inorganic calcium and magnesium. They're the wrong form of minerals that we shouldn't be consuming. Most of us actually see minerals in our water. So if you're seeing it around like the fixtures of your sinks or your bathtubs, or even if you're boiling a pot of water, you'll see that ring of minerals in there. So that's something that we don't want to be consuming. We get our minerals from an organic source. So our fruits or vegetables, things that come from our diet. That is something that's going to be in your well water and your tap water. So it's really something that more and more people need to be informed about. So that's one thing I like to address. Biological contaminants, that's a really big one. And being that we are in a first world country, most people brush this off and don't actually think about it. But if everyone goes on to Google or whatever you like to search, you could look up boil alerts in the US, and you will see hundreds and hundreds of boil alerts that happen in cities and small towns. And so those are biological contaminants that are in our water. They can cause acute conditions such as diarrhea and vomiting. But there are situations where it has caused deaths in the United States. So it's not just things that happen in third world countries. It's more common there. But when you have a water distillation machine, because it goes through that boiling process, it is going to kill that biological contaminant and leave the dead matter behind. So just so everyone is aware, yes, when you are boiling your water, you are killing that biological contaminant, but not only are you consuming that dead matter of that biological contaminant, but now you've just concentrated the rest of the contaminants. So those could be things such as heavy metals like arsenic and nitrates, which are big heavy metals that arsenic is naturally occurring, so it's hard for us to avoid. Nitrates, what they do is they actually prevent the blood from carrying oxygen. So that is something that you might see with blue baby syndrome. So it's very, very important, not only for ourselves being adults to be consuming distilled water, but for infants and babies to be consuming distilled water. Some other things, of course, would be glyphosate, PFAs. More and more people are talking about those. Glyphosate, if for those of you who don't know, is an active ingredient in Roundup, which is an herbicide. So it's linked to cancer. And many doctors have also discussed how it's affecting the lining of our gut and causing joint issue, tendon issue. So, I mean, I know I'm kind of just rambling on all different types of contaminants, but there are over 100,000 known and unknown contaminants in our water. We're not really thinking about the quality of water like we should be. I know when I was in school, we talked about the quantity of water. I didn't ever learn about the quality of water until I started working here. And I went, I can't believe I've been drinking the tap water for so long. We're not educated on those things. So you're starting with a clean slate. It's not just about food. It's not just about exercise. It's about water too.
Yeah, 100%. I had that same realization. I remember just being like, wow, I just remember drinking glass after glass of tap water and thinking I was doing something so healthy for myself.
Yep.
So when you know better, you do better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I even remember my friends drinking Brita water. And I went, why are you guys even drinking that? At least they were starting. They were trying to do something, but I was like, no, I think this is crazy. And I don't know if you've ever done this, Matt, but if you've gone to the EWG and looked at their tap water database, and then you look at their you look up your zip code, it's so many contaminants that they have detected. And it really is eye-opening to start to be like, okay, I need a solution for my water now.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, especially for people like us, I'm in Minnesota, you're in Nebraska. And so we're right in the heart of the farming, agricultural section of the US. And so we've got all the farms, all that runoff getting into our water system. So yeah, I mean, it's bad here, but it's bad everywhere, right? So I don't think there's really a clean source of water pretty much anywhere on the planet anymore.
I completely agree.
Yeah, because I have friends that will go to like, they go to like findaspring.com and they'll go find a spring to fill up their water jugs from, which, yeah, I mean, that's probably better than tap water, but still, there's so many environmental chemicals that we're putting into the environment every single day and year. And so I don't trust getting my water directly from a spring for that reason.
Right, exactly. I could not agree more. I could be wrong about this, but I think I had written this down because I think it's the FDA requires the bottler of the spring water, so the spring water bottler, to test their water. So you're putting your faith into a company to make sure that the quality of water is sufficient. So in my opinion, we should be in control of our water. So that's why I believe distilled water is the best.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I really love that you guys do independent lab testing to show from a third party that what type of results you get when you run the water through the distillers. And yeah, it's pretty incredible the amount of different contaminants, like we just talked about, that are possibly in the water. And so it's just so important that people are at least aware of this so that they can start taking steps to find themselves a clean, healthy source of water. Because I, like your friends, I was using the Brita filter throughout college. And I thought that was doing me all I needed to do. So,
yeah.
So what about like the pH of water? Because I get a lot of questions, people asking me about the pH of distilled water. Do you get those questions, and kind of how do you answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely, well, distilled water somehow has gotten this bad reputation, one that distilled water is acidic. But all it is actually a neutral pH, which is 7.0 on the pH scale. The only time it's going to start to decrease in its pH is when it starts absorbing carbon dioxide in the air. So you have a glass of water, you leave it out for a long period of time, it's absorbing the carbon dioxide, therefore decreasing the pH. It's not harmful to us that it is acidic. We also do have to remember all the foods and drinks that we consume on a daily basis, whether, even if we're talking about the healthier things like tea and coffee, those are going to be more acidic. Some of the fruits and vegetables that people consume are also acidic. But again, it's not harmful for us to be consuming that. It's better for us than consuming alkaline water, but we do want to address that it's not going to be harmful if it has a slightly acidic pH. And, there are some people that might add back in their own liquid minerals, which helps to neutralize the pH, or even by doing something so small, like adding a small pinch of baking soda, so small, that's going to increase the pH. And that is way better than someone doing, getting an alkalizer or doing a water filtration machine. If they're worried about the pH, again, you start off with a clean slate with distilled water, and then you are in control of what's in it after that.
Yeah. Could you touch a little bit on the alkaline waters and what your thoughts are on that?
Yeah. So, there are people that do believe in alkaline water, which you're adding calcium, magnesium, I believe it's sodium and potassium in the water. So there are minerals that are in the water, again, that we don't need. We don't absorb or utilize those minerals. They're not bioavailable to us. And we don't want to be altering the pH of our body. In fact, our stomach acid, it needs to have a very acidic pH to break down the proteins and foods that we digest. So by us drinking distilled water, again, which is a neutral pH, it's the healthier option. Alkaline water, I don't know where it started or why it started, but some people think that if they have more of an alkaline body, that they won't have all these digestive issues. And correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you know more about this, but we do want to be having more of an acidic pH to help break down those foods better.
Yeah, from what I understand, definitely in the stomach. We have different pHs throughout the body. And so to try and manipulate the pH with our water, I personally don't think that is the way to go. I think we just take in foods like fruits and vegetables that are naturally alkalizing, but they don't alkalize and cause any imbalances. Because the thing, it's kind of my thing with supplements too, is, when you take something that is out of a whole food and you start supplementing and it's isolated, the chemistry is not the same as it would come from a whole food. And so you can cause imbalances, by supplementing certain things. And so I kind of look at it the same way. And I think, going with a natural product like distilled water is the best way to go.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And I like how you talked about supplements too. Again, it's a supplement. We get our minerals from the foods we eat, from our fruits, our vegetables, which are the whole foods that we should be consuming.
Yeah, 100%. Cool. So what about the concerns people have with, distilled water leaching minerals from the body and concerns long-term drinking distilled water? Have you guys found that to be the case?
So that would be by far my most common question and concern I get. So I think first, before you dive into leaching minerals from the body, it's important to know what minerals are in our water. So there is a lot of fear that if people start drinking distilled water, they're going to become mineral deficient. But like I mentioned prior, if you're looking at the minerals in your water, again, the ones that are around the fixtures of your faucet and the pot while you're boiling your water, those are inorganic minerals. They do not contain a carbon element. Therefore, they're not bioavailable to the human body. We're carbon-based life forms. We need minerals that come from an organic source, which again is our fruits and our vegetables. So it is scientifically impossible for water, distilled water, which is all it is 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen, to go into the cells and pull out minerals and become mineral deficient. It started years ago with filtration systems trying to push their company and started putting fear into people on distilled water. So distilled water, again, it's just pure H2O. It's not going to leach minerals from the body.
Yeah, I mean, I know I know of so many people that have been drinking distilled water for several decades, 40, 50 plus years, and they don't have mineral deficiencies. So I love what you said about having a nutrient sufficient diet, and that's where we get our minerals, right? So
exactly. Yes. And it is very safe long-term. We do have to remember that there are so many toxins in our environment that we should be eating the cleanest foods. We should be focused on our air quality, but also on our water quality as well. So those toxins can lead to illnesses and diseases. So by us changing from tap water or filtered water, RO water to distilled water, you're starting with a clean slate. You're trying to take that preventative approach by, not having those toxins in your body anymore. So it is a very safe approach. Again, you're not going to become mineral deficient. And I always bring this up because sometimes when I'm talking to people, I can tell they're still not convinced on the whole mineral thing because there's so much misinformation out there. Again, you're starting with that pure H2O, go ahead and add back into it what you feel is best for you. But when we're drinking our tap water, are we measuring the amount of mineral content every single time we drink a glass of water? No, we're not going to do that. So we don't actually know what's in it. So let's just start with distilled water and then choose to do what we want with it after.
Cool. So what makes pure and secure distillers stand out from other distillers on the market? Because there is quite a few out there, and I think people should know, kind of the differences between some of these.
Sure, of course. So one thing that I wanted to discuss earlier is when we were talking about the distillation approach, we talked about the water molecule separating from the contaminant, but of course there are many other contaminants in our water supply, ones that have a lower boiling point than water. So those are volatile organic compounds, or also known as VOCs. So with a pure water distiller, you have actually what we have called dual vents of the machine. So these are very small vents that have been strategically placed right by the condensing coil for those VOCs to escape. So during the distillation process, most of those VOCs escape through the dual vents, but if any remain, they're removed by the activated carbon filter at the end of the distillation cycle. So with this technology, this is why we can claim our distillers produce over 99% pure water. So when you're comparing us to some of our competitors, that's one big thing as far as like the technology with the dual vents and the activated carbon filter. But our distillers are stainless steel machines. So if you're looking at other countertop models on the market, you are going to see machines that are made overseas, ones that are made with plastic. They're not going to be as high quality or have some of those technologies like ours do. And it's not even just with countertop models. There are obviously other automatic distillers. They are made with US stainless steel. But one thing that you had mentioned, and I know you've got your lab results there, is we do all of our testing through independent third-party laboratories. So it's pretty neat, but I have seen binders and binders full of lab results that we've had from the 70s and 80s. So how this is done is we take our distillers and we send it off to a laboratory, and then they will spike the feed water, have it run through a pure water distiller, through an activated carbon filter, and that's why we're so successful with our results at the ending process. So we've been in business for over 50 years. We're a USA-made company right here in Lincoln, Nebraska. We've had the opportunity to sell filtration systems and RO systems, but the owner has believed in only selling water distillers just because he truly believes that's the best. That's what we all drink. And so we want to be authentic with our audience and promote and sell and make what we believe in.
Yeah, I love that. And it's funny because I've had friends that have bought some of the other kind of popular distillers on the market. And a lot of times after a couple of years, they have to replace it. And that's what I love, the durability and, everything on pure and secure distillers are made in the US, and you guys have, you have a great warranty on those. And so I love the customer service, and I love the knowledge that you guys provide your customers. And, I haven't found any other company out there that has matched what you guys, put out. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And, just to touch on that too, as far as the warranty or with our competitors too, there are, of course, clients that I've talked to who have owned some of those cheaper models. And when they break down, they're done. They can't fix them. They basically just have to buy a new one or look elsewhere. So with our water distillers, we do have the longest warranty in the industry, which is 15 years on the stainless steel, 2 years electrical. Of course, there's always situations where a component, an electrical component, can break down, but that's why we still supply parts for our machines, because they are designed to last for decades. And like you said, your parents have owned yours for a long time. It's still working great. So that is the whole point of the machine. It's designed to last a very long time. It's not something you use for a couple years and then you just throw away.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So I know Pure and Secure has a few different lines of distillers. Is there any significant difference between the different lines on how would somebody know which one is right for them?
Sure, of course. So we've got our Pure Water line and our Aqua Nui line. Both are manufactured with the same high quality stainless steel, same warranty as well. With our Aqua Nui line, this is going to be more of a modern modular look. So it is a self-standing machine. We're talking about our automatics as well. So maybe for someone that's a larger family, we might have maybe a couple that starts off with our Aqua Nui 8.5, stores 5 gallons. With that modular design, they can upgrade their storage tank at any time. With the Pure Water brand, you've got either your 5-gallon storage tank or your 10-gallon storage tank. So what I always like to talk to people first is how many people are in your household, or how many gallons of distilled water do you want on a daily basis. Some might prefer a countertop model, which is a manual fill, doesn't require installation, but it's not going to produce a lot of water throughout the day. And then you might go up in size to an Aqua Nui, which is an automatic water distiller, or a pure water distiller. And then you can kind of decide which one is more suitable for you. We do have more of like a simple automatic where you're dispensing the distilled water from the spigot right at the front of the unit. Or you can actually look into something that's even more convenient and have a pump with a water distiller. And it's actually super nice because you'll get distilled water at a spigot, at your kitchen sink, or to your refrigerator. So for those who are looking for something as hands-off as possible, they might want to go with our Mega Classic, which is our most deluxe automatic water distiller.
Very cool. Yeah, and in some of the material that you guys have, I see a lot of really high profile people that use your machines. So I think that Dr. Brian Clement recommends your machines, and I know I followed him for a long time, and I know a lot of people respect his opinion, and so he recommends you guys. So that's really cool. If people want to find out more information about Pure and Secure, or just distilled water in general, I know you guys have a ton of helpful, informative blog posts and resources on your website. Can you tell people where to go to learn more about you guys?
Sure, absolutely. So you can go to our website at mypurewater.com. You can check out our home water distillers, and then under the articles section is our blog. And then also you can check out our water quality test results. It's a summary page. We do try to post on social media as well. Our Instagram page, Pure and Secure, where we have little tidbits and things like that about distillation, but you'll find most of this stuff on mypurewater.com.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, I will link all of that down in the description box below. So everybody, I highly recommend check out their website, just look through it, look at the distillers and look at the educational information on there. And it will definitely serve you well going forward. So Taylor, I really appreciate you, joining the channel and sharing your expertise with us and all your knowledge about distilled water. And I just want to, again, thank you for the work you're doing and on behalf of Pure and Secure. And I couldn't be happier with my machine. And so I've had so many good comments and feedback from people that I've suggested these distillers to, have gotten them. And so thank you so much. And
you're welcome.
Maybe in the future, I'll have you back on and we can talk about some more questions that I get.
Yes. Thank you so much, Matt. It was a pleasure. And I hope we can do this again because this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Okay, well, everybody, again, go check out the resources in the description box down below. And until the next video, always follow your raw intuition.